I spoke on the floor. Representative Cesare is going to make a short statement, and then Senator Paul and I'll be available for questions.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here today. I want to thank Senator Paul for being here with us, and I want to thank Senator Williams for passing this historic resolution today. I have a similar resolution filed in the House of Representatives. It's House Concurrent Resolution 46, and this is an important time in our history. We had an election back in November. People are fed up with government spending and the way that government has run them up with our tax dollars. And this is just a step to show the people in Congress and the people of Kentucky and the people of the United States that we're very serious about the amount of debt that our government has incurred, and we need to address this in a very serious manner. And by upholding our Constitution and supporting our Constitution and using our Constitution to make things happen is an important thing that should be done, if nothing else, to bring awareness to the issue. So I thank Senator Paul for his leadership. This is something I've been working on since last summer when I went to the ALEC conference. It was the #1 issue. I met with Senator Paul after the election. We talked about this issue as well, and I've talked with Senator Williams about this. So this is not something that just happened overnight. This is something that's been we've been working on for a long time, and I think it's time that we take a serious look at this. And I challenge my colleagues in the House to hear this legislation and let it come to the floor for a serious debate and consideration.
We're open for any questions. Please direct your question and to whom the question is directed.
Senator Paul, could you comment on the concern about the Constitutional Convention and the argument that a balanced budget amendment would hamper the government during a recession?
Well, I think during a recession, American families have to cut back, and I think that's what we expect government to do also. When you have less revenue coming in your family, you spend less, and I think government should operate under the same principle. With respect to the concern over, a constitutional convention, I think all of us, even those of us up here who support this, would rather see Congress do their job. Congress is not doing their job. This is a way to exert pressure on Congress to do their job. It is a bona fide constitutional opportunity for us for the state legislature to exert its influence. With regard to arguments on the other side, I think people can argue both sides of this, but it's very clear from the way Senator Williams has crafted this legislation that he has limited what they would be able to do. Not only that, the state legislature then appoints the people that go, and they can recall them at any point or not appoint them or not send them if they don't like what's happening. And I'll let him respond to that as well.
There's a lot of talk on the floor about trusting Congress. Senator Neal just made a statement, our expression of not trusting Congress, and yet they express a fear of elected delegates to a constitutional amendment who are just as representative of a state as members of Congress or members of the United States Senate. They would be selected to go there and act under the instruction of the various legislatures. This provision, as Senator Paul stated, has a strict rescission clause in it if they try to act beyond the limited call situation. We believe that this will be a model piece of legislation that will help allay the fears of anyone that we might have a runaway convention. But let's say, in the worst case scenario, a convention for this limited purpose was called and ran away. Its action would be a nullity until ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures around the country. It's an absurdity to think that 3/4 of the state legislatures would do away with the First Amendment, rights to free speech, or the Second Amendment, rights to bear arms, or any of the other constitutional amendments. And by the way, we do have Bill of Rights in all the state constitutions to protect those very things. Those very legislators haven't called for state constitutional conventions to do away with those rights that are in that constitution. So it's a red herring. I think that the most honest conversation that happened from the Democratic side today was from Senator Blevins, who finally admitted that he wasn't for a constitutional amendment because he thought that his district or Kentucky might not get as much money if there was a balanced budget. Now, that's a true philosophical divide, and he was honest. about it. They didn't give him this press release that was circulated by the Democrat caucus that said they were unanimously for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. They want to talk about it, but they don't want to do anything about it. So I very much appreciate the folks that voted, and I want to express my appreciation to our United States Senator, Senator Paul. When he and I first had this conversation several weeks ago, and he expressed his concern that he felt like, again, that this particular provision of the constitutional amendment would hit a log jam, especially in the United States Senate with the present composition of the United States Senate. He suggested it was time for the states to consider to exercise this alternative method that's provided under the United States Constitution. We agreed to do that, and the first step was taken today. And Representative DeCesare, I want to thank you for being here and the work that you've done on this, and the other members of the House of Representatives. I see Representative Bushner here, Representative Moore, Representative Embry. We've had other folks here, and I'm sure they're going to carry the fight to the other end, because ultimately, if Rand Paul and the conservative members of the United States Congress are not successful on stemming the federal deficit, then our nation cannot sustain itself. It's an unsustainable situation, and nobody thinks it's going to happen just like that. I would also like to express my appreciation to Chairman Damon Thayer for the way he conducted the meeting and let everyone have a complete airing of things. Chairman, I think you did a wonderful job. If you'd like to join us up here, you're welcome to.
President Williams, your limiting language is not in all the states' resolutions, though. It's only in Kentucky, right?
It's only, and that's what I said in the committee today, that ours is the first with such limiting, and we have worked actually with several members of the United States Senate and Congress and staff up there to put limiting to allay the fears that folks might have that there would be some sort of runaway convention. Now, I'm not as
so would the other
worried,
states have to go back and pass your language?
In my opinion, it would be preferable for them to go back and pass this limited bill and approach it to allay any fears that individuals might have. And I think it could be done quickly. I don't think that any of the states that have passed that indicate any wish to have more than a limited convention. And some of the states do have do allude to limiting it for that purpose. But this particular language was carefully crafted to make sure that we would have a document that would rescind itself and would be of no effect if they try to go beyond the scope of the particular authority that we delegated. You want to?
No, I agree with you completely. I think they've done a good job.
What, absent they're going back and adopting the limiting language, does this mean that this is one of one or one of 23?
Well, the question was asked how many, in the committee this morning, how many states have passed a request for a convention? I said 22. But I was clear in my first statement that we are the first to have one with the language that is contained, that this particular language is for as a self-limiting sort of document, and some of the other things that we had about the supermajority as far as adding taxes. This is more comprehensive than other states, and we have done this. We've talked to Senator Hatch's office concerning this, Senator Rand's office, and a couple other United States Senate offices, and we believe that this was a historic day here in Frankfort, because I believe that the movement to finally push forward a constitutional amendment that has some validity and has some detail in it started here today.
So it's one of one, or is it one of 23?
Well, it is one of one with the language that it has in it. The question was asked, how many others had asked for a constitutional amendment? And you saw Senator Shaughnessy try to call my statement into question as to how many had adopted. Some have adopted, well, he was on the floor.
I didn't mean to do that.
You know, the bottom line of it is some constitutional calls by states expire after a certain time if they're not acted on, and some have expired and a few have been rescinded.
So that's 22 ever in the history.
No, that's 22 that presently exist. There have been about 32 or 33 states that at one time or another have enacted on them. Some of them have expired and a few of them have been rescinded as control of the chamber changed. Some of them came back and rescinded. For example, if Wisconsin ever passed one, I'm sure that the former Senate President Fred Risner, wherever he might be today as we speak, probably would have rescinded that. So, but that body changed since then.
Senator Paul, for the remaining that you would need for the 2/3, do you plan on mounting a campaign law and visiting other legislatures to call for this?
We are working in Washington also, the other angle as well, going through Congress. And there are several balanced budget amendments. Senator Hatch has had one for a while. It's called the Hatch-Cornyn one. There's one that I've co-sponsored with Mike Lee, the other senator from Utah, who we're hoping eventually to work into one constitutional amendment. But many of us would like to actually link that vote to raising the debt ceiling. Because I've said I can't imagine voting to raise the debt ceiling unless we somehow change our ways significantly. To me, that would mean probably passing a balanced budget amendment, because they're going to raise the debt ceiling, and then 6 months later they're going to ask again and again and again. This is a history up there. American people, I would think, want some kind of restraint, balanced budget amendment either through the legislature or through Congress. And actually most of our preference is it's quicker and cleaner and the best way to do it through Congress. And if Congress won't do it, the state legislatures need to step up like they're doing. Whether I'll lead it in other states, I will encourage other senators from the other states to see if they can promote it within their state legislatures.
You both this morning in the committee hearing indicated your preference would be that Congress just do this. You didn't think there would be a constitutional convention and this might force them to. Absent that happening, you do fully support, Senator Paul, this amendment, this approach in the absence of the other.
Okay, thank you, Albert.
Senator Paul.
Should Senator Paul on other subjects?
Well,
Let's try to stick just to
let's,
balance.
he has a plane to catch here.
I've got just
Can
a
we
quick
ask an
question on this
optometry
issue.
question?
Senator Paul, some of your supporters in the Tea Party movement came out today against this approach, namely the Northern Kentucky Tea Party, saying it's dangerous to open the Constitution in a convention setting. What are your thoughts on that?
I think good people can disagree.
And Senator Paul, you all have been working obviously very closely on this, and the reason this question comes is earlier today, Phil Moffitt, who's also running for governor, was speaking against it here at the Capitol. Are you endorsing anyone for the Republican race for governor? If so, who, why not?
No. Keep my answer short.
Should Governor Beshear veto this optometry bill that's been passed?
Okay, that's beyond this.
Okay.
Oh, come on, let him
Yeah,
answer.
that's
Dr.
a
Paul, will you
legit
answer
question.
that?
Another time, I want to really talk about the balanced budget today.
Thank
Should
you.
optometrists conduct operations at